It comes from like a video I saw on IG, right?
Okay.
And it posed a very thought-provoking question, and it's kind of rattled my brain a little bit. I'm curious as to what you guys think. What's your opinion? Are fish considered wet when they're in water?
When they're in the water?
When they're in water, are they considered wet?
I don't know.
From what perspective?
Is a fish wet?
As from a human perspective, I would say the fish is wet.
From a human perspective, I mean, just
No. The reason why
wet and dry.
No, the reason why I say that is because let's say I'm a merman, right? Let's say I'm a merman. I live underwater, right? Is anything wet as a merman?
I'm having a hard time picturing you as a merman right now.
No, think about it though. I'm a merman. I'm chilling with Aquaman. I'm chilling with Aquaman, right?
Merman, bro.
I'm saying I'm an Atlantean.
Under the sea.
I'm chilling with Aquaman and the Submariner. I'm just chilling with them, hanging out. Are we wet?
You're wet.
You're wet.
You're wet. You know why?
Because we're underwater. You know what I'm saying? We live underwater. Water, from a human perspective, when we put water on something, that object is now wet. But if I'm always surrounded by water,
Are you wet
am I wet?
or are you dry?
It's still wet.
I'm just.
Still wet?
Still wet.
So you don't become wet once you
So
come
if
out
I'm
of the water.
So wait. So
You become dry once you're out the water.
How?
no, you're still wet.
Alright, if you're in the
You're
pool,
just less wet than when you
If
were
you're
in the
in-
water.
if
Leave
you're-
the fish out. Leave the fish out.
if you're in the pool, like say you're in the pool,
It's gonna dry.
It's gonna dry.
But it's wet though. It's before it dries.
I mean, if you're out the water, yeah, it's still wet.
So when you touch it in water, is the fish wet or dry?
Fish is still wet.
If
water
you
is
touch
wet.
the
'Cause
fish,
water is wet.
if you touch the fish in water,
Water's wet.
is the fish wet or dry?
Water's wet, bro. It's still wet.
No,
when
now,
it's
now,
in, it's
the
wet.
more and more I think about it, the more intriguing the question is.
Yeah, I mean you're dry now, right?
Right.
because I'm
But
on land.
But if I put water on you, if I throw a bottle of water on you,
You're
what are
wet. You're wet.
Wet.
You're wet. But why are
So
you
now-
wet?
Because water is wet.
Is it water wet or is it because you're dry and now you have a wet substance on you,
Very nice.
but you're in a dry area?
Very nice.
So if I'm underwater, am I wet?
If you're underwater and I splash water on you, are you wet?
I'm underwater and you splash. Well, no, because that can't happen.
Yes, you're wet.
You're wet. You were wet before.
He just splashed you with water. You're wet.
So you're
But
actually
how can
it's
you
wet the
splash you with
contrast.
water in?
It's wet the
How can you
contrast.
splash me?
Because if you're standing
Because I'm
in the
already
water,
wet.
let's say you're
I'm standing in the
submerged.
water.
You throw
You're
water
submerged
on.
your water up to your
Cool.
chest,
Through the water.
right? And he just.
You still
But if I'm like,
Oh,
if
snap,
I'm
water's
like,
in my face.
You're wet.
If I'm
because
wet.
Water is wet.
but if I'm like here underwater, like the water's above me, and he splashes water, am I still wet?
Yes, you're wet. You're just underwater. You're just more wetter than what you would have been if you were out of the water.
I agree.
But he doesn't become wet until he's outside of the water.
So are you saying that it's wet by contrast? Because you have to be.
So wait a minute.
wet.
So if
You
you're
have to have
fully
drop to
submerged,
be
so
wet.
are you saying if you're fully submerged in water, you're not wet? If you're fully submerged in water, you're not wet. Once you come out of the water and you have leftover water on you
Then you're
in
wet.
a dry space,
You're wet.
that means you're wet.
You're wet by
You're
contrast.
When you say about contrast, throw me off by contrast. When you say about
So
contrast,
you're basically saying that when you come out of the water, right, there is a sense of dry now.
right, the air has hit you.
Right. So now there's a contrast. So you're saying only reason I'm dry now is because I was wet before.
Right.
But before when I was in the water, I wasn't dry nor wet.
Right. Well,
So wait a minute. So,
That's what I'm saying.
so
Like,
let me ask this.
One is creating the other.
Okay, so if I'm fully submerged in water, what am I?
what are you? You're in water.
You're in water.
Right, but if I'm in water, what is my current state?
Well, it depends on your texture. Now, if you're fully in
moist.
water, and if we're both in water, and I touch you, am I touching something that's wet, or am I touching something that's dry?
If I'm
Now, when you say touch me, are you reaching in the water and touching me, or am I out of the water and you touch
No,
me?
I'm reaching in the water and touching you.
Even if he reaches in the water, his hand's still wet.
That's what I'm saying.
No, it's not wet until I bring my hand out.
So what is your hand then if it's in the
Let
water?
me ask you something. Ice in a cup of water. Is that ice wet or dry?
I would say the ice is wet
Yes, it's still wet.
So when you take it out of the water, is it
because
wet
there
or dry?
is dry ice.
No, I'm talking regular ice.
Regular ice is
you
always
put an
wet.
ice cube in water.
Because it's made of water. But this is what I'm saying. Does the contrast make it? So does one make the other true? So if I am out, like you said, I'm dry, right? Why am I dry?
Because you don't have water
You're in the
or
air.
you don't have any type of moisture on you.
Any type of moisture, right? So moisture means that I'm dry.
Or you have no other element on you.
I have no other element.
So
right?
the absence of moisture means that you're dry.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, it depends on what type of moisture.
Doesn't matter. Any moisture.
Any
would be
moisture is
anti-dry.
So
If I spill juice on your pants, or if I spill water on your pants are still wet.
if I pour paint on you, are you wet?
You're still
Yeah, I'm wet with paint.
Yeah.
It's wet paint.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Liquid-
saying.
It's
Yeah.
wet liquid.
It is.
So I don't think it's the type of moisture that
Okay.
matters. I think
Okay,
it's
so
just a
wet
matter
liquid.
of
Right, because it's been exposed to air, which
Right. So
makes
you're
it
saying
wet.
air is
Okay.
the opposite. Air is the dry.
Right.
so dry is when the moisture disappears.
Yes.
So it's just based on contrast.
So
You have to have
it still
one-
brings me back to the question: if your hand is inside a bucket of water,
Yes.
what is my hand?
In the water.
In the water.
In the water.
It's in the water.
So what is its texture?
But what is its current state?
In the water.
It's
That's
dry.
no, that's
It's
the
dry right
that's
now.
the current location
It's
of my
dry right now.
hand.
If you take one hand and put it in the
It's
water,
soft.
and you take your other hand and put it in the water and touch your hand, what is that?
It's wet.
So you're gonna feel wet?
well, you're gonna
You're
feel
still gonna
softer.
feel-
You're gonna feel softer.
You're going to feel liquid.
You will feel softer
If we want to use that,
underwater.
you're going to feel liquid. And what is
No,
liquid?
no, like,
Bobby?
no, I'm
I'm trying to.
Is liquid dry?
I'm saying like you would feel soft underwater if you think about it, because if you're underwater,
Did he say soft?
soft, you would feel
Let me
soft.
explain. Let me explain. Go ahead, so bad.
Yeah, please.
No, like I just realized that if you're underwater, like if I have my hand underwater and whatever, and that's in there for a little while, you notice that like you're like when you're before your hand went underwater, it was dry, like your skin was dry, whatever. When you put your hand in the water, your skin was soft.
I think we're talking about two completely different things.
Okay. No, he makes a good point.
Yeah.
This is the question though, Sopash. If both of your hands are underwater and
Both
you
my
touch
hands
your
are-
hand, you touch your other hand, is that hand
While
dry?
underwater.
Right, is that hand dry?
I put both my hands are dry now. Like
Your
my
hands are dry right now.
I
Right? You
feel
touch your
like
hand.
I
Touch your
feel
hand.
like as long
Dry.
as
Dry.
there's contact
But if we
with
put it
water,
underwater and rub your hand again,
it'll feel softer.
is it going to be dry or wet?
It'll be dry. Oh no,
No.
it'll be wet.
It'll be
How
wet.
would it wet? Would you feel? Would it
Because
feel wet?
when he was
though?
dry, he felt that his hand was dry. He said, identified, my hand's dry.
Right. But so if you put your
The
hand,
ash
if
is
you
coming
put
off.
both hands in water and you rub one hand, it's gonna feel wet.
you're still
Is it
gonna
gonna feel
feel.
dry?
You're still gonna feel the water.
If you-
I feel like
I think
whether
you
it
feel
feels
more dry than wet.
whether it feels wet or not, the very presence of the water makes it wet.
I think the presence of air makes it wet.
You think
He
so?
thinks he's saying the contrast. He's saying in order to have wet, you have to have dry, you have to have a contrast. Like it's daytime right now. How do we know it's daytime? Because the sun goes down.
Right.
That becomes night.
So then wet is basically taking away or adding something. What do you
Like it's like adding.
It's the-
more
it's
like
taking
adding-
away the water or adding the water?
It is.
No, wet
it
is like
the-
adding water, right?
It is the opposite
It's like
of the
adding
present
water.
state. Let's say that. It's the opposite,
opposite
of the present state. So if it's wet, what's the opposite of wet?
Dry.
Dry.
If it's not dry, it is.
Wet.
It's mutually exclusive. It has to be.
So does that
What?
go for everything?
Yes.
But that's what I'm saying. So then what is my hand in the water? I still go back to that question.
It's dry.
It depends. It depends on what it is when it's not in the water.
Because my hand is not dry when it's in the water.
It is dry when it's in the water. It's not dry when it comes out of the water. It's wet.
It's not dry when it's in the water.
It's definitely
It's not. It's not dry. It's definitely.
It's not.
It's definitely not dry when
It's
it's
dry
in the
when
water.
you put it in the
Yo,
water.
take a shake in his head. It's
If I
definitely
take a
not
tea
dry
bag-
in the water.
If I take a tea bag and put it in a teacup full of water,
Yes.
is the tea bag wet?
It was dry once before.
Does that make it wet now?
It makes it wet once you take that tea bag out.
But when the tea bag's inside.
But if it was dry before it went in, it's wet now.
No, it's still dry until you bring it out and it's re-exposed to air.
I think we're
But it was
missing.
dry.
I think we're missing a word then. If
has
that's
to
the
be.
we're
case.
missing something.
Yeah, because it was dry.
So
its,
wait,
its
okay.
beginning state was dry.
Yeah.
Right.
You put it in the water.
Now
it
it's
doesn't change its state.
yes, it does
same-
because then
same
because
form,
then it
same
changes
everything.
the form of the water. Now the water's becoming tea
Well, yeah, because the bag is see-through and what's inside the bag is now spilling out into the water.
because it's wet.
Yeah, you can do that when it's dry.
No, really can't.
We gotta think about that one. That's a good
You
one.
really can't, Barbs.
So then,
This
okay,
is
all
extremely
right.
documented.
So
More than I
wait.
thought
Okay,
it
so then, so is the correct term not wet, but soaked?
Isn't it the same thing?
Well, if you're soaked,
Isn't it just more wet? Isn't that just in it?
and you can't
Or
be
is
soaked.
or is soaked just an extreme?
You can't be soaked unless
Version of wet.
you're out of wetness.
I don't think one can exist without the other.
Yo, I honestly didn't think this was gonna be such a long discussion. I don't understand why we can't figure this out.
I think we should part two this.